All eyes are on Florence this morning. Good morning. I'm Mike Naso from the YouTube IPR 365 Tropical Update page with the latest on the tropics, and of course Florence is on everybody's mind as it should be along the East Coast. You can see it's almost getting back to hurricane strength. It is forecast to become a hurricane later today, then rapidly strengthen back into a major hurricane and be a Category 4 hurricane taking aim at the Carolinas sometime around Wednesday or Thursday, and it could be a very serious major hurricane impact. Very serious. Behind Florence, we have Isaac, which is looking a bit more organized this morning, and that is forecast to become a Category 2 hurricane and take aim at the Caribbean islands in about, say, 5 to 6 days. And then behind Isaac, we have Helene, which should become a hurricane and a Category 2, but move on out, but not before prompting those hurricane watches in the Cabo Verde Islands off of Africa. So a very active Atlantic. Let's get right to it with Florence as of 5 a.m. Florence was at 24.5 north, 55.8 west. Winds were 70. The pressure was down to 989 millibars, so it's almost a hurricane again, probably later today by 11 a.m. or 5 p.m. It's moving west very slowly at 6 miles per hour. That is expected to continue, that westward motion, and then eventually an acceleration towards the west-northwest right up towards the Carolinas. By Thursday and Friday, we could have a very major hurricane making landfall somewhere near the Georgia-South Carolina border on up towards the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Right now, if I were somewhere around the border, Wilmington, this area right in here, I would be very concerned. But everybody in the hurricane cone of uncertainty needs to be overlooking your plans, listen to the local emergency officials, and see where evacuations will be taking place, as Florence is forecast to be a Category 4 hurricane. And those are rare events for the Carolinas. I know Hugo in '89 was a 4 when it came into South Carolina. Hazel in '54 came into North Carolina as a Category 4, but you're talking like 25, 30 years between these types of hits. I think the last Category 3 for North Carolina was Fran in '96, unless I'm missing one. Yeah, so a very serious situation here. You can see the computer models, not many take it out to sea anymore, except the GFS, which meanders it over the Outer Banks as like a Category 4 or 5 hurricane, which ain't going to happen. I don't know what the GFS is smoking. But the general consensus is just a west-northwest sail right into landfall and just bad, horrible impacts in the mid-Atlantic and the Carolinas, to say nothing of the rainfall, the storm surge, and the nasty winds that'll be brought about by a major hurricane. This is very serious. Again, when you look at Florence right now, a tropical storm getting better organized, it's hard to believe that this tiny little coiled thing could be such a monster in the making, but we saw it was a Category 4 just a couple of days ago. And there's Bermuda right here, and you can see it is forecast to move south of Bermuda towards the west and eventually the west-northwest, but we don't want it to keep losing latitude because then areas even further south could be at risk. So even if you're in North Florida, Jacksonville, Savannah, Georgia, Tybee Island, keep an eye on Florence. This is too serious a storm for you to let your guard down. The European model, as of 0 Zulu, had it in 120 hours, making landfall right near the border, close to Wilmington, North Carolina, as a very major hurricane. And you can see it takes Isaac into the Caribbean, weakens it due to shear. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then as we look at the other models, including the Canadian model, that takes it more towards South Carolina, which is a little bit further south than the GFS and the European model. Nonetheless, a very serious hurricane, and it has Isaac missing the islands, which seems a little unrealistic. That's due to a break in the ridge from some system that loops around out here, so I don't know what the Canadian's onto, but we'll keep an eye on that. As far as the intensity, Florence is right here, and you can see these greens in here. Notice the very, very favorable upper level environment that is going to be venting this system once it moves towards the west. that is going to probably aid it in very serious intensification. And the water temperatures above normal, north of the Bahamas here, near the Gulf Stream, right where Florence will be moving. All systems seem go for this to become a hurricane today, and then a major hurricane by Monday and Tuesday, and be a Category 3, at least a Category 3, forecast to be a Category 4, taking aim at the southeastern United States by Wednesday and Thursday. Very, very serious. Then we go further out, and there's Isaac. As of 5 a.m., Isaac was at 14.5, 38.1. Winds were 50. It's moving west at 9. Again, very slow movers. These are going to be around for a while. And you can see Isaac is forecast to become a hurricane by Monday, and then a 100 mile per hour hurricane, a powerful Category 2, taking aim at the islands. However, as it feels the outflow from Florence pushing down on it, the wind shear, it should weaken but still be a hurricane by Friday, entering the Caribbean Sea. Where it goes from there is really anybody's guess. The computer models seem to want to take it just straight on towards the west, possibly a Caribbean cruiser, taking aim maybe at Jamaica down the line. So if you're in Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, Jamaica, Cuba, the Yucatan, even the Gulf of Mexico, keep an eye on Isaac. It's still a long, long, long way. I mean, we're talking 4 or 5 days from the islands. But nevertheless, it is expected to be a strong hurricane, and it is the peak of hurricane season. I did want to touch on also Helene, which is out there as of 5 a.m. at 13.2, 24.0 west, 65 miles an hour, moving west at 14. Helene should also become a powerful hurricane, strong Category 1, Category 2, but make that turn out to sea. But we do have those hurricane watches for the southern Cabo Verde Islands, as we'll have some impacts from it. You can see the satellite imagery on our left. There is Isaac bursting this morning, looking a little bit better organized, still kind of oblong shaped, but it should strengthen into a hurricane over the next 24 to 48 hours. And then there's Helene wrapping up. It looks a little ragged, but it is nearing hurricane strength, 65 miles per hour. That should become a hurricane and turn, but Isaac we're going to have to deal with as time goes on. So Helene, Isaac, and obviously Florence. Florence is going to be the main concern over the next 3, 4, 5 days, as it should become a hurricane today, a major hurricane tomorrow, and a very dangerous major hurricane making an approach on the southeastern U.S. by Wednesday and Thursday. Stay tuned. We'll keep track of it, and I will see you guys next time.